Have you ever wondered what abandoned buildings used to contain? Dark hallways, creaking doors, and mysterious noises echoing in the silence. Are they traces of the past or the presence of something not of this world? Many have tried to find the truth, but they have returned to hauntings they never wanted to talk about. Join us as we enter the dark buildings to uncover the mysteries that remain unexplained. Story 1. Chris Hill's encounter at Paul Revere Elementary. Chris Hill, an intrepid urban explorer, is always on the lookout for the most abandoned places in the country. His latest adventure has brought him to the eerie ruins of Paul Revere Elementary School in Cleveland, a building ravaged by time since it closed in 2015. Chris has explored many abandoned places, but there is something about the decaying, shadowy school that makes him shudder. He arrives at the school in the middle of the night, the only sound the whisper of the wind and the crunch of broken glass under his boots. The school, once a place of learning and play, is now silent, its windows shattered and its walls crumbling. The smell of mold and decay fills the air as he enters, his dim flashlight revealing the devastation. The floors are waterlogged, the walls peel like old paint, and rusted furniture is scattered among piles of forgotten books and papers. As Chris moved deeper into the school, the air grew colder and an oppressive silence fell upon him. His flashlight caught messages scrawled in fresh chalk on dusty whiteboards, signs that others had been there recently. An unease spread through him, but he continued on, recording the strange sight for the onlookers. Minutes into his exploration, he heard it, a faint buzzing sound, followed by strange, almost inhuman noises echoing through the deserted hallways. His heart pounded as he cautiously followed the sounds, his flashlight piercing the dark. As he turned a corner, he froze. A beam of light, not his, shone down the hallway. Panic surged through him. He was not alone. Instinctively, Chris turned and ran, avoiding any confrontation with the invisible presence. He climbed the stairs to the library, his breath coming in gasps. The silence was broken by another noise, a low, eerie moan coming from a nearby bathroom, gathering his courage. He cautiously approached, his hand hovering over the gun he carried for protection. He pushed open the bathroom door and saw a sight that sent a chill down his spine. At the end of the room, a figure stood there, completely still. For a moment, horror paralyzed him, but then he realized it wasn't a person. It was a mannequin, eerily lifelike in the dim light. Someone had placed it there to scare off intruders. As Chris moved closer, the mannequin slumped forward, its lifeless eyes staring at him. The timing was too perfect, too terrifying. His nerves were on edge, and he continued to explore, his senses on high alert. The school, with its crumbling rooms and forgotten artifacts, seemed to close in around him, its silent corridors whispering secrets of the past. About half an hour into his exploration, Chris climbed onto the roof, each step a precarious gamble. The building groaned under his weight, threatening to collapse at any moment. He made it safely back down, only to hear a strange howl echoing through the hallways. Raising his camera, he caught sight of a shadow moving behind a door, an ominous presence that seemed to be stalking him. Fear gnawed at him, but he pressed on, determined to uncover the mysteries of the school. He entered another room, his flashlight revealing a safe. A strange noise came from the hallway, and as he raised his camera, he saw a shadow move by. Someone was there, watching him. He drew his gun, ready for a confrontation, but saw nothing but empty rooms. Deciding he had seen enough, Chris headed outside, the oppressive silence now broken by the unmistakable sound of footsteps above him. He called out, but received no response. When he finally emerged from the school, the haunting realization that he was not alone lingered in the back of his mind. The abandoned building with its secrets and shadows, had left an indelible mark on him, a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. Story 2. Brian and Michael at the Jimson Center. Brian and Michael, the duo behind The Proper People, are seasoned urban explorers known for their daring adventures. Their next stop is the infamous Jimson Center in Northport, Alabama, commonly known as Old Bryce Hospital. The sprawling psychiatric facility, abandoned since the late 1970s, has a dark history of abuse and neglect, earning it the nickname of Alabama's creepiest building. The night is eerily quiet as they approach the crumbling structure. The once grand building is now a shell, reclaimed by nature and covered in graffiti. The air smells of decay and damp earth. As they park and step outside, the only sound is the crunch of dry leaves under their feet. They begin exploring the basement, the air growing colder as they descend. The walls, once white, are now stained with mold and grime. Their flashlights reveal broken furniture, rusted medical equipment, and piles of forgotten files. Each step echoed ominously, a reminder of the building's tragic past. As they climbed to the top floor, the sense of dread grew. The structure was unstable, with large holes in the floor and ceiling. They moved cautiously, aware that one wrong step could be fatal. When they reached the top of the stairs, Michael froze. "Look," he whispered, pointing to a window. Outside, on the opposite staircase, was the silhouette of a person holding a flashlight. The figure stood motionless, watching them. As they turned off their flashlights, the other did the same. Panic set in. They were being followed. Without a word, they turned and ran, hearts pounding in their chests. Back in the car, they tried to make sense of what they had seen. There had been no other cars when they arrived, meaning the person must have come on foot. The thought of someone lurking in the shadows, watching their every move, was unsettling. They left the area, the image of the silent watcher etched in their minds. Story 3. Tom and friends at Ridley Hospital. Tom and his friends are known for being loud and reckless, often disturbing the peace of the abandoned places they explore. Their latest adventure has taken them to Ridley Hospital in Lancaster, UK, a former psychiatric hospital known for its humane treatments and pioneering use of electroshock therapy. The building, abandoned since 2013, stands like a silent sentinel, its windows dark and ominous. The night is cold and quiet as they approach the hospital, their flashlights casting long shadows across the crumbling walls. The air smells of decay and mold. As they enter, their voices echo through the empty hallways, bouncing off the peeling walls and broken furniture. They walk through the building, their laughter and screams breaking the silence. But their courage quickly evaporated when they heard it, a strange noise coming from one of the rooms. They called out, their voices trembling. There was no response. Just as they were about to continue, a man's scream pierced the air, sending a chill down their spines. Panic set in as they ran, their footsteps echoing through the deserted hallways. The man's screams followed them, growing louder and more desperate. They rushed out of the building, hearts pounding, and headed straight for their car. The man chased them all the way, his rage palpable. They barely managed to escape, their minds reeling from the horrific encounter. Story 4. Big Banks at Vincent Filia's hideout. Big Banks is no stranger to creepy places, but a visit to Vincent Filia's abandoned hideout in Lugoff, South Carolina, is different. Filia, a fugitive who kidnapped and abused 14-year-old Elizabeth Shaw in 2006, turned the house into a prison of horrors. The crime shocked the nation, and the house has been abandoned ever since. As Big Banks approaches the house, an unsettling feeling washes over him. The once tidy lawn is overgrown with weeds, and the windows are dark and empty. The air smells of decay and damp earth. He steps inside, his flashlight illuminating the remnants of a life cut short. In the kitchen, he finds a backpack, small and old. There's no telling if it's Elizabeth's, but the sight of it sends a chill down his spine. As he explored further, he found more disturbing remains. A DVD of the horror film The Strangers, a broken baseball bat, a bat handle, and a ripstick. The living room was filled with old furniture and personal effects, some of which looked like they had been there long after 2006. It was clear that the house had been occupied at some point, but the most disturbing discovery was yet to come. When he ventured into the basement, he found a small, dark room. The air was cold and quiet, and the walls were lined with shelves. On the floor, he found a pile of old toys, a haunting reminder of the girl who had been imprisoned there. The thought of what had happened in that room filled him with dread. As he left the house, the image of the backpack and toys remained in his mind. The house, with its dark history, is a stark reminder of the horrors that can lurk behind closed doors. 5. Chris Hill on Holton Avenue. Holton Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, is the stuff of nightmares. The street, lined with abandoned buildings, has a dark history. In 1913, the first Hungarian Baptist church was built there, but it has long since fallen into ditch. In 2016, the body of Jessica Coleman was found there, a crime that remains unsolved. Chris Hill decided to explore the area, drawn by stories of haunted buildings and apparitions. The night was cold and quiet as he approached the old church, its windows dark and eerie. The air was thick with the smell of decay and damp earth. He stepped inside, his flashlight illuminating the ruins of a once vibrant place of worship. The walls were covered in graffiti, and the floor was littered with debris. As he walked through the building, he noticed signs of recent human activity, fresh footprints in the dust, a discarded cigarette butt. His sense of unease grew with each step. In one room, he found a sleeping bag and some personal items, signs that someone had been living there. The thought of encountering a squatter filled him with dread. As he moved deeper into the building, he heard strange noises. Footsteps, a creaking door. His heart pounded as he cautiously followed the sounds. He entered another room and found a makeshift bed, a stack of old newspapers, and a photo album. The photos were of a young woman, her face filled with hope and happiness. The sight of them in such a place was truly unsettling. As he turned to leave, he heard a low, menacing growl. Panic set in as he fled the building, the footsteps following him. He returned to his car, his mind reeling from the experience. The abandoned buildings on Holton Avenue were more than relics of the past. They were stark reminders of the darkness that could lurk in the shadows.